or 80,000 pounds or 100 million naira, all in one resignation can quietly wipe out the equivalent of a brand new car from your P&L. And that's just the visible cost. So you have the invisible cost, and they include lost client relationships and institutional memory, slower delivery and project delays. You have disrupted teams and informal networks, and then lower morale, and of course, rising cynicism. So take a second and think. How many good people, not average, your good people, have you lost in the last 12 months? You multiply that number by 50 to 200% of their annual cost. Whatever you get, that's the heating bill sitting on your desk. So, talent lost is not just HR wahala in Lagos or a people issue in London or LA. It is a business and P&L problem. So if your CFO, your chief financial officer, is not part of the retention conversation, you're leaking money. Across Nigeria, the United Kingdom, and the United States, we see the same dynamics, just with different accents. So people are disengaged, but they're still on payroll. And we call that quiet quitting. They're physically present at work, but mentally they're on LinkedIn. High performers rarely leave purely for base pay. They live for culture, growth, and leadership quality. And, exit interviews will often say, oh, it's, better package or opportunity abroad and all that. That's just diplomatic summary. It's not the real chapter. Engagement scores can look like, everything is okay. But your turnover and your burnt out and quiet quitting are slowly rising. So let's ask an executive level question. Are you managing dashboards, or are you actually retaining your best people? Because dashboards are about reporting, but retention is about how you lead. And here's the core leadership error that we make. We assume silence equates to satisfaction. We mistake politeness and respect for loyalty. And then we tell ourselves, if there was a problem, they'll tell me. Then we focus heavily on salary and benefits, but we neglect the daily experience of working under our leadership. Reality is different, leaders. Your best people rarely shout or slam doors. They disengage. They stop bringing their best thinking. They detach. They start mentally rehearsing life somewhere else. And then finally, they disappear to a competitor. They disappear to another organization, another country, or even start their own business. And by the time you hear, I'm relocating or I have an offer, they left you emotionally months ago. The tragedy is, in many cases, the warning signs were visible. We just don't know how to read them. So, what does quiet quitting really looks like? Let's make this diagnostic so I could help us read it. And I use what I call the timeline of detachment. So what does quiet quitting look like in a top performer in Lagos, in London, or in LA? First, you notice the first phase, which is this disengagement phase. They stop offering ideas. Your people do exactly what is on the job description and nothing extra. You've actually turned your innovators into checklist operators. And then they move to the second phase, which is detachment. In the one-on-one meetings and general meetings, they contribute less. I'm fine becomes their standard non-informative answer. They no longer volunteer for extra projects or travel or any cross-functional work. And then they finally move to the disappearance phase, which is the third phase. because emotionally they checked out long before the I'm leaving conversation. If you're seeing this pattern, you're not at the early warning stage anymore. You're in the late response mode. Now, the good news is late is still better than never, but the cost of delay is real. So, why leaders? Why do we miss it? We often say we ask, they didn't say anything. Now, to be fair, this is not always about bad leaders. Culture plays a big part. In Nigeria, for instance, we have strong respect for hierarchy. People don't want to embarrass Oga in public. So even if you beg for feedback, you may still hear, "It's well, sir. It's well, ma." But the translation is, "We will say the real thing on WhatsApp after this meeting," but never to you. In the United Kingdom, disagreement is dressed in politeness. Things like "that's interesting" or "I'm not entirely sure" can mean I completely disagree, but I'll tell my colleagues at the pub. Now, in the United States, people are more direct, but they still protect their careers and reputation. Nobody wants the label difficult or not a team player. And then, if you add history of retaliation, formal or informal, someone spoke up one time and quietly they lost opportunities, projects, or even access. People learn the system quickly. Be careful. So we end up with leaders overestimating psychological safety. Surveys and town halls feel, performative if nothing changes. And then here's the dangerous confusion. Silence is interpreted as agreement, but in reality, silence usually is self-protection. So when you say, as leaders, when we say we asked, they didn't say anything, many of your people are thinking we answered, just not in front of you. Now, here's what I'd like you to walk away with today. There are three invisible culture gaps that are quietly costing you your best people, whether you're in Nigeria, whether you're in US, whether you're in UK. A practical leadership cultural gap. It's a kind of framework that can help with those invisible gaps. And they help to diagnose these gaps in your own context. So, a short list of habits and routines you can start using with your teams, whether in Lagos, in London, in LA. And I'm saying those places because that's where people on this platform are from, one way or the other, or wherever your operation sits. You are executive level learners or emerging leaders here. You're not here for hype. You're here for tools that you can test in your boardrooms, ESCO meetings, and leadership teams. So treat this like a lab. We'll name the issues, we'll quantify the impact, and design interventions you can pilot. I hope you're taking notes. So let's talk about these three invisible gaps. In different countries and industries, the language changes, but these three gaps show up again and again. And I've been fortunate to work with different leaders across these three continents. And the voice gap, they say we want feedback, but we don't act like it. When we look at the fairness gap, we say we reward merit, but it doesn't feel like that to our people. Then the growth gap, we say we develop people, but careers feel stuck. So in Abuja, Birmingham, or Boston, the surface symptoms vary. But underneath leaders, these are the same three chronic conditions in organizational systems. So we'll examine the voice first. The voice gap. Can I say what I really think? That's what our employees are thinking. Because most leaders sincerely believe they're approachable. And we hear a lot of "my door is always open." But sometimes the door is open and the consequences are not safe. So here's what your people may actually see: leaders who get defensive or shut down when challenged, colleagues who raised hard truths and are later labeled negative or rude or not a team player, and then people who spoke up about ethics, workload, or biases are quietly removed from influence. The rational response is your best thinkers stop sharing their best thinking. So, what's the cost to you as leaders? You lose innovation, you lose early warning signs, and you slowly erode trust, the main currency of high performing cultures. Now, the voice gap from symptoms and signal portion, how do we know? How can you detect that you have a voice gap? Look for these signs. Number one, you would notice that the same 2 to 3 people dominate every meeting. Everyone else is present, but not really participating. And then the real conversations happen in the corridors, on WhatsApp or Slack, not in the official meeting. And no one told me often means no one felt safe telling you. That's what you're going to keep hearing. And then issues only land on your desk when they're already in crisis mode. I'll give you some additional, clues. Very low participation in Q&As or any listening sessions. And then you get more anonymous complaints instead of direct conversations. And a high fear of speaking up scores if you're brave enough to ask that question on your survey. At that point, if you notice any of this, 1 or 2 of it, you don't have a communication problem. You have a safety and trust problem. Now let's look at the fairness gap. What most employees think is this really about performance? Most leaders say we reward performance. But in Lagos, London, LA, or wherever, many employees are thinking, are you sure? Because here's what we actually see as employees: big promotions and juicy projects going to the well connected are not always the best performers. Different rules in different teams. What is tolerated in one unit is punished in another. And then a few clear favorites who get second, third, and fourth chances, while others get one strike and it's over. So what happens? Your high performers quietly do the math. Why should I give 120% when 80% plus the right relationship seems to be enough? Once people decide the game is rigged, they usually do one of 2 things. One, they disengage. They do the minimum and keep their head down. Or they exit to another company, another country, or start their own business. See, nothing kills extra effort faster than the feeling that it doesn't really matter. So how do we know that we have a fairness problem? These are some of the things you start saying. High performance leaving for better opportunities. Sometimes just across the street, sometimes across town, sometimes out of the country. And then there's a constant talk about golden children or gas people, inner circle, whatever the local phrase is. And then you see eye rolls increase and side comments when leaders say, we are meritocracy. That means we reward merit. But to be sure, don't just listen to stories. I'm asking that you check your data. Check who gets promoted and who gets the pay increases by team, by gender, ethnicity, and location. How much conflict or tension you have in calibration and talent review meetings. You also want to check what people say when they actually leave you. Do they say no clear path or too much politics or decisions made behind closed doors? In many organizations, the story people tell in the cafeteria or on WhatsApp or any other social media is closer to the truth than the story written in the HR policy manual. So before we go to the retention, because I want to talk about the growth gap quickly, and then we'll move to the retention. And the growth gap is only saying, do I have a future here? Leaders love to say we invest in our people, but in London, LA, Lagos, or wherever you're operating from, many employees are thinking, really? I'm not feeling it. Here's what they often experience. Training is a one-off event, a good workshop, nice lunch, and then nothing changes. Managers quietly block internal moves because they don't want to lose their best person from the team. So they stop the promotion. Career conversations are squeezed into a rushed 5 minutes conversation during an annual review or skipped completely. So your best people they make a very rational decision. If I can't grow here, I'll grow somewhere else. And that somewhere else might be another company. It might be another role. It might be it may even be to start their own business. And when they do that, we label them not loyal. But the truth is they are loyal. They're only loyal to their calling, their growth, and their potential. How do we know when we have growth gaps? Here are some of the things I want you to see. Your high performance sitting in the same role for 3 to 5 years with no clear next steps. You have a growth gap. Mobility is not always upward mobility. Maybe you need to enrich their jobs. And then people saying things like, I'm stuck. I have outgrown this. I need to go elsewhere. I need to go abroad. I need to do all of this. Then thirdly, leaders, we genuinely are shocked by resignation. And we say things like, I didn't even know they were looking. And your data will usually confirm it. So again, I'm going to ask leaders to ensure that even as you're leading your people, you're checking your data because numbers don't usually lie if they're honest. Because you will see that low internal mobility, especially you will find those in your top performer. They've been there 2, 3, 5 years. No movement. No job enrichment of any kind. Then you see very few high potential people with written real growth plans and not just training list, but they're waiting for the opportunity that never came. Then you see limited chances to move across functions or sites or country or roles. When people can't see a future with you, they quietly start designing a future without you. So as leaders, we want to retain them. We want to work with what I call the retention engine. So how do we move from diagnosis to design? What that simply means is, how can we turn these problems into practical tools? We can reduce everything we've discussed into 3 simple leadership questions. So the first one is voice, what I call voice. Do my people feel safe to speak up? Second one is in fairness. Do my people believe the system is fair? And then growth. Do my people see a real future here? If the honest answer to any of this is no, or even I'm not sure, then your risk of losing your best people is already high. And in the next part, we will take these 3 questions and turn them into what I call mindset, behaviors, and rituals. Mindset as in new ways of thinking as a leader. Behavioral, small daily habits. And ritual is just the routine that you can build in, whether you're leading in a bank or you're leading in a tech firm or even in healthcare fields. So let's start with mindset shift. How do you think about your role and your people? Micro behaviors, what your team actually experience day to day. Then ritual system, the routine and structure that keep going even when you're busy or traveling. Because culture doesn't change because of one retreat, not even because of one webinar like this, or even one powerful speech. Culture shifts when small, consistent behaviors or habits are repeated so often that people start to say something like, something is really different here and it's not just a phase. That's where we want to get to. So, voice mindset shift. Looking at the shifts, the old mindset will say, if they disagree with me, then they are challenging my authority. But the new mindset from voice perspective will say, if they disagree with me, they're giving me free intelligence about my team and my business. Two commitments I invite you to make today, leaders, is one, I will not punish people for raising hard issues, formally or informally, meaning openly or quietly. And secondly, I will thank and protect those who speak up, even when I cannot implement everything they propose. But I can't do everything that they're asking for. And when your people realize that it is genuinely safe to tell you the truth, you suddenly get access to information that used to live only in corridors or side conversations. Then, if we look at voice from micro behaviors, in meetings, because you want to change the atmosphere, right? So start in meetings and in one-on-ones. You can change or shift the atmosphere with simple questions like one, what are we not seeing yet? Ask your employees that. What doesn't make sense about how we're doing this? And if you were in my position, what would you do differently? And when someone is brave enough to say something uncomfortable, try responding with, thank you. That's not easy to say. Here's what I can act on now, and here's what I can't yet. But please keep telling me the truth. You see, in Nigeria, you may say it with more formality. In the UK, a bit more understated. But in the US, more direct. But the message is the same across Lagos, London, LA. Your honest thinking is welcome here, and it is safe. That's what your people want to hear and feel. Your honest thinking is welcome here, and it is safe. Now let's look at voice from ritual and systems. How do we build it into how we work? How do we turn voice into part of our operating system? I'll suggest you try this. One, use a last 5 minutes ritual in every meeting. What did we miss? What should we do differently next time? Then two, you want to probably hold regular skip level or listening sessions. Skip level is meeting with your team's team. Maybe if there's a director role, under the director, you may have manager and supervisors. You want to meet with the managers and supervisors and maybe even some frontliners. And you can ask them what is working, what's not, and look for patterns and not names. And then three, you want to set and enforce a non-retaliation standard. No punishment, formal or informal, for raising concerns in good faith. And in high-performing cultures, speaking up is not a heroic act. It's simply part of the job. Let speaking up be part of the job. And then fairness. How do we go from trust me to transparent criteria? This is the old mindset when we're talking about engineering fairness. People should just trust leadership's judgment. The new mindset is if I cannot clearly explain a decision, it will feel unfair, even if it is technically correct. So as leaders, we must use clear written criteria for promotions, rewards, and key assignments. We need to apply those criteria consistently across teams and locations. And when we make an exception, provide a clear, honest rationale. We're not trying to please everyone. We're trying to ensure decisions are understandable and principled. Then looking at fairness from micro-behavior phases, how do you communicate decision? In everyday leadership moments, when you promote someone or assign a major project, you may say things like, here is why I chose Mr. J. Give 3 specific observable reasons. Say things like, here is what you would need to demonstrate to be ready next time. And then in performance review, you want to say, let's map your results against our criteria so you can see the link. Because sometimes people think they're treated unfairly. And that's why, as leaders, we need to provide clarity. And then periodically, you want to ask, is there any decision I've made recently that felt unclear or unfair to you? And you say this in high power, distant culture like Nigeria, that question is powerful. If you're brave enough or your supervisor or leaders allow the employees to ask that question, it gives permission for respectful challenge. Now let's look at fairness in ritual and system. Guardrails for people's decision. How do we build fairness into the system? Number one, you need to run calibration sessions across teams and regions so that ratings and promotions are aligned. Because some of us, actually, we are subjective in promotion. We need to keep promotions very objective, even for business continuity. Then you want to review, on a regular basis, your pay equity by gender, ethnicity, and location. You want to promote patterns and timing. You want to know who gets high visibility projects and opportunities. And then add a simple fairness check to your major people decisions. If this decision and the reasoning behind it were fully visible inside the organization, will it still feel right and defensible? If your honest answer is, I am not sure, that's your signal to pause and check and ensure that there is fairness being engineered in your organization. Then I want to go into engineering growth from retention to employability. This is the old mindset for growth. If I grow them too much, they will leave. But here needs to be the new mindset. If I don't grow them, they will leave sooner and probably resentful. So we need to shift our measure of success from how many people stayed to how many people progressed in capacity or capability, responsibility, and impact. We normalize career conversations so they are frequent and honest and not annual and awkward. So when people experience you as a partner in their growth, they're more likely to stay longer and give more, even in a global market. Now, growth from micro behavior and phrases. What are the conversations that keep people? So in your one-on-ones, at least quarterly, consider asking, what do you want your work and life to look like in the next 1 to 2 years? These are questions people ask in interviews, but they're questions you need to ask even as people are retained in your organization. Then you want to ask, what skills do you want to be known for inside or outside this company? You can also ask, which parts of your role give you energy and which parts drain you? Then you offer concrete support. Here are 2 to 3 realistic next roles that I could see for you here. Or here is one stretch assignment or exposure I can give you in the next 90 days. Or whether that next step is in Lagos or London or Houston or elsewhere, what it does is that you become an ally and not a barrier in their growth journey. So let's look at growth from rituals and systems. We're still going to tie all this together. How do we make development visible? To make growth real and visible, one, you got to ensure that each high performer or high potential has a written living growth plan. So when you go back to your organization after this webinar, you need to go and see if your people have written plans and living growth plan. And then run quarterly talent reviews. Who is ready for what, where, and by when? And then rotate top talent through cross-functional projects, regional or international exposure where possible, mentoring and initiative, of leadership roles. Then track internal moves and skill growth, and not just training attendance. When people can clearly see their development path, the pressure to leave for growth reduces significantly, even in a world of immigration or remote work or global effects. So let's land this in 90-day experiment. Let's make it real. So you choose one voice habit. That's what I'm going to task you with. E.g., for example, means last 5 minutes feedback in every team meeting. One fairness practice is maybe always explaining key people decisions against clear criteria. And then maybe choose a one growth routine. Quarterly career conversations with your top 5 people. Each one should be simple enough to start next week, visible enough that your team can say something has changed. And culture, does not shift because of what we say in a workshop, like I said earlier. It shifts because of what we schedule and repeat afterwards. So, metrics does matter, regardless of where you are, Nigeria, UK, US. And how do you know that this is working beyond the feel-good stage? Over 6 to 12 months, I need you to track voluntary turnover from your high performing, especially the people you really didn't want to lose. Track your internal promotion and mobility. Track that rate across wherever you operate from. Again, like I said, promotion does not mean just upward mobility. Mobility can be job enhancement. And then include a few target surveys. The surveys can be: 1, I can speak up without negative consequences. Performance is evaluated fairly where I work. I see good career opportunities for me here. And send it out to your people. Because your aim will be to get fewer surprises, fewer painful resignation from people you want to keep. And there may be more honest adult to adult conversations about work, growth, and reality. Let me give you a quick case study here. And this can be adapted to you, but it will help you understand from quiet quitting to re-engaging. Let me illustrate a brief case from a Nigeria-led multi-country team. Here's the situation. A key function in Lagos with colleagues in London and Houston had rising turnover among high performers. So when we listened to them, 3 themes kept coming up. Number 1, we noticed that the people feel we don't really have a voice. They felt like politics decided more than performance. And they felt like if I want to grow, I need to leave. So we prescribed actions, and the actions were taken. So first was voice. We prescribed there should be skip levels, last 5 minutes, anonymous channels with visible follow-through. And then we prescribed fairness, clear promotion criteria that everyone sees, cross-region calibration so decisions felt less political. Then we prescribed growth, simple written growth plan, cross-border projects, opportunities, not just local tasks, if it's in alignment with the organization. What changed after 12 months of applying this voice, fairness, and growth? 20% reduction in regrettable turnovers, not the people we want to do without, the ones we want to keep. 17-point increase in I feel safe speaking up, and 13 internal promotions and cross-region moves. The lesson here: this is not about culture slogan. It's about specific, repeatable leadership behaviors. So the call to action for you leaders is, what will you do differently the month is ended already, let's say in April, next month. As executive students and senior leaders, I want to leave you with 3 questions. What is one behavior you will start this week? What is one ritual you will put on the calendar with your team this month? Who is one person you will invite to give you honest feedback about your leadership? If nothing changes in your calendar, nothing will change in your culture. So quiet quitting is not simply an employee problem, like I started with. It is a leadership opportunity for those willing to respond. So with that, I want to thank you for your time and your attention and your willingness to examine your own leadership. It's not easy, but when you Close the voice, fairness, and growth gaps. Your best people don't need to quit quiet or quietly leave your organization. They can see a credible future with you, and they can choose to stay and build it with you. It doesn't have to be business as usual. As we wrap up, if today's conversation stirs something in you and you know it's time for the next level in your leadership, I'd love to stay connected with you. Like I said, we're still going to go into question and answer, but I wanted to just put this out there. You see, through Access inside my organization, my team and I partner with leaders and organizations to turn change into a strategy, not a crisis. And we'll use practical coaching training and consulting that actually moves the needle on culture and performance. And through our transformation platform, you can plug into a global community of purpose-driven leadership, access articles, and leadership, programs. So I'll talk more about some of the things that we can help with. But you can take a picture of how to reach us. You can even join our Why Move My Cheese conference. The goal here is to help leaders navigate change with clarity and courage. So if you're ready to grow, you can visit any of our website. So once again, I thank you. I will stop sharing and we can move on to our Q&A segment in 1 minute. Let me stop sharing here. All right. And then, okay. Can you all still hear me? I hope.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
All right. So who has my first question? You can unmute yourself. You can put it in the chat. It doesn't matter. Okay. I think somebody's raising a hand. Okay. There is a Phoebe Richards raising her hand. Can you unmute to ask your question?
So, Phoebe, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Okay, you can use the
Good day,
chat.
Dr. I have a question.
All right, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. Yes, I am the head of. First of all, thank you very much for this stunning presentation. It really reflects what is happening in my organization presently. And I want to just come in this way to ask, as head of HR and admin in my organization, or the reputable organization, agricultural sector, all the things you have mentioned are the things that reflect here. But I have a general manager who completely don't get it like the way you have said. So in this situation, what should I do? Because I'm a leader, but I have a leader ahead of me who is stopping people from growing. People voice out, but it doesn't come in to help. To only come in as to get information from here and then to use it to backbite and then talk about you behind. So in situations like this, how do I do as a head of admin and HR? Thank you.
Do others proceed to ask their questions, or what's the plan? You want to respond to each question? Or can I ask mine?
Not a question.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, I was actually responding to John. I must have muted myself. Tega, I will get you. I was saying I wanted to respond to John and then we'll get you. So, John,
Okay.
sorry about that. My recommendation to you, John, is you have to speak to the person. And if this webinar and my partners would tell me if it's made available, maybe you want to share something like that. But you have to be the brave person and ask that, share with the person like you are getting this information. We appreciate your leadership. However, this is how people are feeling. And then, start from there. It's a very tough place to be, but you just have to bite it by the bullet. And if you have articles you can share, maybe start from there. And if the person does not align with your organization's values, maybe it's time they move off. You're going to have to make that decision. But you need data. You need to have, maybe people writing up what they feel, and you can use that as your talking point. Yes, Tega, go ahead. And Uche, I'll get you.
Thank you
Okay.
very
Good
much.
evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for this
Good evening.
moment. I want to commend your very superlative presentation. So my question is kind of direct. I happen to steer a project in my company, and I had a conversation with my MD, and I have some crucial KPIs to deliver. And some of the things I require to deliver those KPIs, some people in the value chain of my job seem to be, I don't know, dropping the ball. I've approached them
It's hard for me to
personally
hear you.
to change. I mean, then had to notice. Okay.
You're breaking, Tega.
Is it better now?
Yes, now.
Okay. Is it better now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can
Okay.
hear you. Okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. So I just quickly want to ask that how do you go about a challenge when during a town hall meeting you had to call out something that you suspected a conspiracy or silence for all those involved who should have delivered to you what you required to achieve your KPIs, but you just sensed a kind of cold shoulder and you had no other option than to call it out in a town hall meeting and brought it to the attention of the MD. Could there have been any other safer way to do that other than that? Because time was of the essence. Is there a better approach to calling out something?
I mean, it's very difficult to say this is exactly what it is because there are variables that I don't know. But one thing, when you face difficulties like that, you may want to go onto the side of a survey, just a quick survey about what you're trying to get from them, maybe one, two, or three questions about that, and allow them to answer. And then you use that to respond. So maybe those KPIs you're looking for, you can ask, hey, what do you think about this KPI? Am I doing it the right way? How do you think we should go about it? Involve them. You're going to have to use a little bit of wisdom in that. And then whatever they say, you can now use that as a starting point to talk about it, even in the town hall. First, you're going to thank them for their input, but they're going to commit themselves without knowing that's what they're doing. So instead of calling them out, you get their involvement. And then you now use that as a leverage to speak up.
I promise you, ma'am, that I did even more than that, but it was kind of obvious that these guys weren't going to do nothing, and my review was going to turn otherwise. A lot was at stake for me, so I had to just call it out. I did beyond that. I approached everybody concerned, but I don't know, it just happened that way.
Yeah, and
So
it may be a cultural thing, and culture
Mhm.
change is really difficult. It takes time. Like I said, it's something you have to do consistently and repeatedly. So if that's the culture, if that was never called out in the organization, it's going to take a lot for one person to call it out. It has to start from the leadership. And if leadership is accepting it, then Mr. Tega, you're in a tough spot. You just have to keep talking to leadership, not condoning what they're doing, But if you have any access to leadership, you have to keep talking. And then you start exhibiting a different behavior that you want to see, even in small spaces, and they'll see it. But it's hard when culture is really not together.
Okay. Thank you very
So
much, ma'am. I
I
appreciate
don't know if
your
I've,
answer.
I don't know if I've helped you or if I've just maybe agreed with what you've gone through. And if you don't have the power to change them up or change them out, then you have to look for how to coexist with them. But you now start exhibiting the culture you want to see little by little and get more people to your side.
Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am. I appreciate your answer.
Yeah, you're welcome. And you can reach, I'm sure they're
Thank
putting
you.
my information there. You can feel free to reach out, and I will do my best to answer questions even after this webinar. Yes, I don't know if it's Mr. Labio. I don't know who raised up first. So feel free to unmute yourself and go with your question.
Good evening,
Okay.
Doctor.
Good
Okay.
evening.
Please switch your screen. Hello.
Hello, I could hear you.
Okay, Doctor, thank you for that wonderful presentation. I think
You're
where I
welcome.
really have a challenge really is I work in a quick service restaurant as an operation manager. I keep training almost every 2 months. We have staff that believe they are stuck. We have very bright mind ahead of them. And this young chap that are coming out up the ladder, they are exciting character also. But those ahead of them are really good. So after a while, they will tell you, I've been here for 5 to 6 months and I'm not seeing a growth prospect in the next 1 year. And boss, I think I should quit. And we're having a quick service restaurant springing up almost every day. So if there's an opportunity anywhere, because of growth, you see they are always on the move. So this training is just becoming like every 3 months you have to train, retrain. Those that have been trained, they're on the move, telling you that, so and so is ahead of me and is a young chap. And I don't expect him to quit this role for so and so period. We don't have another branch that you said that this young talent, you need to post them elsewhere. And it has been a hell of a challenge. I don't know how you can help me with this trend to stem this trend.
So the trend is real, is everywhere, honestly, because as an employer, I mean, your business is limited to the size of your business. But when you have hungry people, it's a very difficult thing to keep them without enhancing what they're doing. So you may not have promotions, but maybe think of more projects they can do. I don't think the training, because too much training without meaningful movement really doesn't work as much. So maybe instead of having the 2 trainings or the 3 trainings, you may want to have 1 training and then 1 project. Give them a project that has to do with their job or has to do with, where you want to go as an organization. And that keeps them busy. But if you keep training them and training, I'll tell people sometimes you don't want your people to be constipated with information. Because if you're feeding them with information and then they don't have any way to express what they've learned, then it becomes something else. So maybe reduce training a little bit. Not a training is very good, but instead of training twice or 3 times, train 1 time and then come up with projects. You have to task yourself with coming up with 3, 4 projects. So they know that as they train, somebody's going to get the project. You will see them actually fighting for that project. And maybe something that can enhance your organization, something that you want to do within the community, but still has to do with the job, but a little bit more. That's what I would suggest. You could try that and see.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yes, please feel free. Unmute
Yes,
yourself and
please.
ask.
Yeah,
I
Dr.
don't know
Laide.
who.
Thank you,
Yes,
Doctor.
yes, sir.
Hello, sorry, Dr. Laide.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to make a quick reference to the first person that asked the question. Would you recommend, sorry, my name is Ian Karimansha, I'm from UK. Would
Okay.
you recommend that you invite such person out maybe for dinner and during the dinner time or maybe lunch? Let me put it as lunch. You can have that kind of conversation. Sometimes maybe the environment might make it more effective than addressing some issues within the organization. Would you
Yes,
recommend that?
yes, I recommend that. But again, it depends. Like I said, I didn't know a lot of variables. So if they're in, maybe if they're amicable to that point where they would go out with you, then that is actually a better way because it eases the environment and it eases the conversation. And the conversation should not be just straight to work. It should just be, make it simple and light. The environment already simplifies it by not being within the office. But when you do things like that, you got to make sure that you don't lose the objectivity of the meeting because it depends on who the other person is. It depends on what mood you're in. You have a goal for that dinner. So as you do that, you still want to stay objective, but yet it can lighten up the environment and create an easier access. Again, we don't know all the variables surrounding it, so it's hard to give a certain, prescription. But yes, that would help, definitely, all things being equal. Thank you. Mr.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
Alabi.
Can I
Yes,
can I go on
yes,
now?
please.
Yeah, so
Yes.
my name is Laide Alexander. Thank you very much for this wonderful session. But I have so many concerns. Being the head of HR, working with a private organization, we are open to so many challenges, especially when you have it's a woman business actually. So what do you do when there's no clear expectation from your manager or from your boss, especially when ideas initiatives and innovations are not really encouraged, but we proclaim that. So what do you do? Because most times, whenever we have meetings, we only do more of reporting. No new ideas given, no deliberations, no discussions on okay, how do we move the company forward? But what we do is blame game. Why have we not done this? You must do this. You must do that. So there's no room for that growth. That to the extent that even employees are kind of scared to contribute whenever we are having a meeting. They are scared to even ask questions whenever we are having meetings. So what do we do in that kind of situation?
So,
Thank you.
unfortunately, most organizations are highly transactional and they never move to the point of transformation, which is what you're talking about. So, I want to ask you, do you have any one-on-ones with this manager at any time?
Yes, I have had a one-on-one. Just that it is someone that do not see feedback as constructive. This is someone that sees feedback as destructive.
Okay, do you have people that report to you?
Well, I am the only one for now, but I oversee. I be the head of HR, every other employee.
Okay. So maybe this is what I would suggest because again, there are variables that I am not privy to. But what I would suggest is maybe come up with some of the ideas you're talking about. And I know you probably have done this, or if he doesn't even pay attention to that, like share it with him. Or just ask him if you can share, if you can start doing little things in the office that makes people have fun. That because we don't want to lose these people because it will affect the business. And maybe give him one or two ideas and see what he says. Make it light, make it fun. Start with that. So that eases the way. Again, you have to make an entrance, especially when you're dealing with a difficult supervisor, a supervisor that really is nonchalant or complacent or does not really just care or is highly transactional. You want to find one or two things to engage him in and present that to him that you just want to try it with the people and see what happens. And then you could take it from there. Now, that doesn't mean that would work, but I think it's better than just keeping quiet.
Sorry, ma'am. Actually, I've been keeping quiet and I've been kind of looking for that avenue. Just that sometimes people will say you work according to the boss's mood, which I don't believe. So whenever I enter the office, I go straight. Sometimes I will meet a bony face or welcoming face, and I'll be like, why is it that whenever I come to you, you're always boning your face? And the rest of them will be like, oh, I'm so tired, I'm worn out, this and that. I'll be like, oh, please take care of yourself. Have you taken your medication? Have you done this? Have you done that?
Mm-hmm.
So the truth, I'll be able to penetrate. But at the same time, the fact that I'm penetrating doesn't mean that the boss is going to accept what
He's
I'm
going to do
bringing.
it. Yeah. So since you know him already, I think next time you go in and he's boning his face, you want to start with that. I know you're very tired, and I know the work is a lot, but I'm trying to make it easy. These are the two things that I want to try. So try by acknowledging what you already know. Instead of asking him how he's doing, don't do that. Just acknowledge that I know that you're very tired and I know the work is a lot. My God, you're doing so much work and I want to help you. I'm thinking of doing this one or two things. Can I try it? Let's see where it will go. You don't worry about it. Let me just take care of it and then I'll let you know. Then see what he says. But don't ask him how he's feeling and all that because the
So,
conversation will be steered away from the objective.
sorry, ma'am. Let me explain something. I have other heads of department, other managers that have great ideas that are experienced in their field, right? They are here to contribute. They are here
Okay.
to also support the business. But when there's no room for such, like when the boss was outside for a while, we had meetings and we all enjoyed the meetings because we're able to deliberate, discuss, and bring new ideas that can actually move the company forward. Even though we could not implement that because everything is still going to the boss's approval. But the thing is, we have all tried our best, even though some of the senior managers are like, I'm in Nigerian, so they'll just be like, oh, I'm tired. God should just answer my prayer and let me move. And I'll be like, why? You need to do something. Even someone that is very close to that rank will also be afraid to approach this person. And I'll be like, why are we working as if we are not free to even express ourselves? Why?
Yeah, that is, I wish he was on this call. Maybe he's the one that needs to learn this. But, there's something called 360 degrees of leadership. And what it means is when leadership is applied from the middle, that means that you lead the people above you, you lead your colleagues, and then you lead the people, your subordinates, people below you. And sometimes we have to lead the people above us. But how do we do that? Again, it's a good thing you've worked with him so you understand his temperament. I think that's very important. And then other people, may not even share your sentiments, or they may, but you have to take a step. But the step is getting on that side with your supervisor, not necessarily a good side, but understanding since you say you go to him, I'm going to go back to that. I think that's your avenue to talk to him. And, because when you even start to implement anything, those same people that are talking may still have issues with it, not just your supervisor. So, but I think you should go back and again talk to him, understand his temperament, understand his mood swings, and then know when to go. And when the only time you can go, regardless of what his mood swings are, when you go to him, acknowledge it. Don't ask him how he's feeling. Because if you ask, he will always have the answers for you. Instead, you're going saying things like, I know you had a rough day, or whatever his face is telling you, acknowledge those things and then just keep telling him. And you can't give up. You got to be persistent. Because if it's a cultural thing, like I said, it can't be changed overnight. It's going to take a long, repeated, consistent effort. So if you go today, if it doesn't work, you keep going. And then it would one day work. Or maybe it's not going to be the place for you. But if it's still a place you want to be, then you have to make that effort consistently. That's what I would suggest. You can follow me online. You can send me messages and we can keep going through this. And I'll keep answering to the best of my abilities. But I hope this helped a little bit today. So,
Thank you, ma'am.
yes, you're welcome. Yes, next, please.
All right.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Ada Rhodes. I am Chief of Staff in a company where I oversee staff across 3 continents. So HR is one of the things I handle. We have a current issue in the company where I know that I have the ears of my team. Based on my one-on-one and feedback from my team, I know that I am the one they go to for any concerns or issues. But we recently merged a company with another company in Europe, well, in the UK specifically, and our culture realignment wasn't integrated. We haven't integrated it yet. We have had a lot of clashes, a lot of misunderstanding. And even though I keep raising that these are issues that we have ongoing, um, let me rewind a little bit. I do report directly to the board. I have, in terms of making decisions or making last minute calls, I do have well, I guess you could say last say. I can implement that without the board's interjection. But with this new merger, we have had a few more seats to the board, which has caused a bit of a ruckus in terms of decision making. And they're always getting involved in our day-to-day running of the business, which of course has caused a problem, has caused this issue with integration. Now, I have a lot of unhappy stuff.
Okay.
There's almost, it's hard. We've gotten to the point now where I don't even know what to say to the team because, yes, in one hand, I'm trying to make them feel better. I can get off a call with them now and they are feeling a lot more upbeat and feeling a bit more aligned with our mission or the goals, or they know what they're doing. But at the end, they were still having these issues with the integration not done, the other teams still having their own issues. I can't seem to get my team, the whole team, to realign as one, especially with this new set that we've added on. And then, of course, the board constantly getting involved in our issues, which, of course, I think that's the main issue here. How do I get them out of our business, out of the day-to-day running? It's a problem. Like, they constantly are constantly poking their nose in things they have no business being. We don't have any business talking to the board on a weekly, daily, monthly. Prior to this, it used to be, of course, the quarterly board package. Now they want to know an update every other day of the week, and it's causing a problem because you come today, you say, XYZ is our target for the week of for the quarter, for the year. This is our runway, this is our roadmap, and give it 5 days, and the board has come in with something else, some new heavy.
Initiative.
Yes, that is
Yeah.
causing a problem for the team. So of course, there's no way for us to all get on the same page. Like, how do I deal with this? Because it's really, for me, it's driving me crazy on
So
so many levels.
I'm going to ask you a question before I answer that. So with this merger going on, who has more financial power? The organization before or this new one that just joined?
The new one that just joined has more
Okay.
financial power, yes.
Exactly. So what is happening, and I could sense that from what you're saying, is number one, there is no sound trust yet with organization. Mergers are very difficult, actually. So that has to be built even from the very top. And then they're just really trying to protect their asset or their investment. And if their culture is very different from your culture and they happen to have the higher financial power, what is happening is they're trying to have you bend into their culture that they are above and you guys are not. Yes, mergers, but not really so partners. So in that case, I'm going to advise that you find your person, someone in HR or someone that has your type position, either colleagues or even subordinates or higher from that side, and try to kind of understand what their culture was.
They don't
Because,
have anyone.
okay, they don't have anyone, so it's you. So do they have informal leaders though? Every organization
Um,
has informal leaders, people that are not leaders, but they're leaders. Everybody listens to them.
yes, well, I could say their CFO and their current sitting CEO.
Okay. So
Yes.
somehow you need to meet with those people because you need to find out. And when you go and meet with them, don't bash what they're doing because they don't think what they're doing is wrong. And they're just really trying to protect their investments. So I would suggest that when you go and meet with those people, because it's just like education. If you like, you can change curriculums, but if the policy does not change, it's really useless. So you may want to go and meet with the people that have the power so they can at least allow you engage with them. You have to
I
do
mean,
that because you
sorry,
identify. Yeah.
that's the funny part here. I have done all of that. We've had our sit downs in person, virtually, everything. Um, they agree. We've had all the calls. We've set up. We have what do you call it? We've had one-on-ones with the teams. They agree. It's not that they don't agree. We've done the calls. We've actually had multiple trainings with the team, but they've just in the actual day-to-day running of things, they have refused to integrate any of it. So
Yes,
that's
it's
that's
it's going to
the
take time. Again, we can do the webinar. I don't think webinars are answers to questions. Honestly, they're just maybe inspirational because when you're having issues in the workplace, there are many variables that does not come to light in discussions like this. So it's very hard to say this is the best description, but prescription. But what I always would advise is number one, you are the person that identified the issue. To them, they may not even think that there's an issue. So, but you know there's an issue and you care about your people. So you almost have to be the one that needs to, go back to them. And I told somebody here, maybe try to just understand them, not necessarily befriend them, but try to understand. Like, I would ask them more questions like, okay, so what are you guys expecting from me? Let them tell you what they're thinking, not just what you want them to think. What are you guys expecting from my role? Because this is how we did it, but I know that with the merger, we want to learn from you guys too as much as possible. So tell me, what are you expecting from me from this role? Let them talk because you have to kind of almost listen to them to now be able to let them hear your voice. But if you keep going and say we're not doing this, we need to do this, they're not going to hear you. So instead, maybe next time you meet with them, just ask and that I'm curious about something because I want to make sure that, this merger serves us right. We want to make sure that we keep our people. We don't want to lose our best people because I'm telling you, people are getting uncomfortable. So tell me from your perspective, what are you expecting of me in this role? So try that. And you can send me a message on LinkedIn if you want and tell me how it goes. But I think start from home, let them that you kind of put them in leadership role instead of challenging them. And let's see what they say. Then we go through that route. Remember, I just said something to someone 360 leadership. You have to be in a position where you're leading from the middle. That's where you are. But how do you lead the people above you?
okay.
So I hope that helps. I don't know. I think that we still have some time. Ibrahim, anybody else, my partners, let me know when we're getting close so I could keep taking questions. Who's going next, please? Feel free, unmute yourself.
Okay, Esther
Thank you
Odolami.
very much.
I'm speaking from Nigeria, and I want to
Hello.
ask. Hello, yeah. I want to ask on the fairness gap. and
Okay.
how effective it can be, either through mindset, micro behavior, or ritual. Because often than not, in a team, you could have somebody who really is confident but is not competent. The loud speaker who really is not working, but a meek and silent worker who is really working, which more often than not is not visible, but is of great value. And here is management. I mean, somebody that is a sycophant, let me not use that bad word, but for clarity, let me use it, that a sycophant worker. And more often than not, management or managers or leaders often reward them, and which, if care is not taken, may make other workers to mimic this behavior so that they too can succeed. And that will have impact on the outcome, the input or the reward, the result of the organization. How do we really do the fairness? How really is it work? Does it really work? How can we block sycophant workers?
It works actually. If you go with I gave some survey samples, I gave some tips that you can use, but I'll tell you this. Again, depending on the position you're in, it's easier when you're in a higher position to make things happen and implement things. But I think there has to be a way where if you happen to be in the leadership role, you may have to be the one to come up with it. That, okay, I have noticed that we have, again, without bashing the loud person, because you don't know whose person that loud person is. So we always want to be fair because you have to be fair too when you do your assessment. But you may have to come up with, okay, I have seen that we have this type of employees here. Just in order to improve. I've seen that we have this type of employees here, and I have been able to describe the employees. Now, what with the positions that we have, these are the things that we're looking for because it's culture. So if you're not in that position to speak or to be able to deliver that, it's going to be very difficult. But if you are in a leadership role of some sort, then it's easier. You have to come up with that template. If you go back, and I don't know if they will make this available to people, but if you go back to it and you pick those things you have to do in fairness, is number one, you have to describe the behaviors that matches expected promotions or expected, positioning. Because if you can't describe it, then it's hard. Then people are being subjective. The biggest thing with leadership and people in general, human beings in general, is that subjectivity that moves away from objectivity and then our biases. But until we're able to write it down and we're objective to say, this is what it looks like. And if a person is like A, B, C, D, then that person will align to this XYZ position. That makes it a little bit fair. Remember, it has to be clear. Everybody has to see it. Everybody has to know. So people, they have equity. They all can work towards the position. But again, it's not always like that in the real world, but you can try and keep trying to push it. So, Miss Esther, what position do you hold? Hello?
Hello. All right,
Yeah,
sorry.
what position do you hold, ma'am?
I'm a lecturer.
Okay, a lecturer.
I
Okay.
work among students.
Okay. So, and the people we're talking about there are who?
No, I'm not speaking particularly about anybody. I'm knowing experiences that I've had in other workforces. I used to be a health worker before I got called into ministry, and my ministry is training God's called servants. So I'm just looking at my previous experiences where some are working quietly, but when they see bosses, they jump into the work that everybody should do, even though it's some kind of people that were still doing it. And then the boss rewards
Those people that are
he or
acting.
she.
Yeah.
Yes, that is what I mean. It's for general consumption, not particularly me in this
Okay,
case.
thank
But
you.
I
Thank
know
you
it's a thing
for
that
clarifying.
happens. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying. It is, and it's again, it goes back to the culture of that organization. Culture is a very hard thing. Most organizations I've worked with, I have to be in it because there's so many underlying factors in culture that a lot of organizations actually need help to help them identify what their culture is. And if they don't have any, then everybody is subjective. Then there are no set, lines, there are no set expectations. Like job descriptions. I've been in organizations where job description is completely different from what the people are doing. So how do they get promoted? How do they know what the next steps are when the thing that they were actually hired for is completely different from what they're doing? So it falls back to the organization, but it is possible. I've seen it happen. The organization just have to learn, number one, who they are. It doesn't matter if you've been operating for 10 years or whatever, if you don't know what the culture of your organization is, people have values and mission and vision statement that they can't even remember. So we got to bring them back to that and ensure that everything is defined and everybody can see it. So it's hard, but it works. It just takes time. And sometimes it takes intervention from an outside person. So we have about 4 more minutes.
Thank you.
I'm going to run through as quickly as I can. Aaron, I've seen your hand. Glory, I see your hand since. Do you want to go? And then
Okay.
I'll try and
Can
take
I
as
speak,
many.
ma'am?
Yes,
Good
please.
evening from this side.
Good evening.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for this session. This has truly been very, very insightful. So just to go straight, my name is Gloria, and I lead the HR team in a technology company in Lagos, Nigeria. And for the organization, we're just at that point where we're seeing a lot of disruptions in the sense that being a technology company, you're at that point where you have really trained your people, you've invested richly in your people because technology has its cases, it's evolving, and specifically cybersecurity company, you have to just continue to train your people. But now our best hands are being poached by distributors, OEM, at that level. And they're coming in with these very juicy offers that these guys are just at that place where, I'll go. There's nothing tying me down to this organization. But as that is the case, we're also looking inwards to begin to say what is really causing this attrition that we're having at this point, because in the last 3 years, we've even recorded about 93% retention rate straight, which has been great. But right now, we just started to observe that people are leaving our system. So what are we not doing right? And some of the things that myself and my team have started to look inwards, or we started to spot, was, okay, from our feedback sessions and surveys, we see that there's no clear growth paths, and that we immediately started to work on. 1, 2, compensation is also key. People are beginning to see that, okay, they deserve more, the market is willing to pay more. But as much as that is true, another interesting part of it on the business side is, because we're a technology firm, and the economic volatility is really affecting business. I mean, in terms of dollar rate is just, as much as it looks really good right now, it's not really fair on the business, right? And business is always looking at it that we're incurring a lot of costs to really train, to keep operation in place and all of that. But people don't really look at all of those things. They just feel like they deserve more, they should earn more, other competitors are offering more and all of that. Now, we're at that stage where we have to keep our best hands, and I really do not know how to really go about it. The next thing for me is to run a cultural assessment, right? See the gaps, and which we know is, okay, maybe we want to make our growth plan more clearer. Do we want to offer more money? Does that really solve the problem? That's one. On the leadership part, one of the things I begin to observe right now is, as much as management really wants to, do the things, they want to make it fair for the people, they're also looking at the business, and they are just at that point where they're not able to make immediate decision. I tell you right now, we have just completed promotions review. We're supposed to implement and effect new salary and all of that, but we've not been able to move on with that conversation. And I know that CEO is looking at the books, is looking at how do we manage the numbers if we start to increase cost and all of that right now. How do we manage all of this? Because people they are not interested in that part. They're just really interested in what is coming to them at the end of the day. So what would be your advice on that, ma'am?
So I'm going to say this, and this will be the last question I probably will be able to answer. Before I answer that question, if you have more questions, you can put in the chat. You can email me directly, and I will get to respond to you just because of time. But you know what? First, let me applaud you. You've done very well, honestly. You started, from a good place because you also have data. You understand that you had 93% retention. So what caused the attrition? So maybe you want to start again from when did the attrition start going down? And then look at what are the things happening during that time. Because I will quickly tell the story. Yes, you have those external factors, which are more of this tech people that are offering them the greener pasture. But at the same time, I will say that I don't know how transparent you are in your organization, but the people need to know exactly what your plans are, where the organization is, and where the organization would like to go. And then ask them, how do you think we should get there? Involve them. You see, people are not always, yes, they want money, and money is important, but involvement, inclusivity is huge. So maybe you want to try that first track. What is where you started seeing the downward trend, and then look at the activities that were happening during that time for you to kind of come up with your own, analysis. Then engage the people. Be transparent as much as you can with, okay, as an organization, this is where we were with our people. We understand that people are coming in and are sending you, giving you offers and all that. And it's okay. But we want to keep you as well. So these are the plans that we have. We can't do some things right now, but we really appreciate your feedback. So talk to us. What is it that we can do now to help move the organization and you forward? And hear them. And then take their responses and begin to work with it. They will feel accountable because they're the ones that are giving you that. So a lot of time transparency is important, but inclusivity may be where you want to go as well. And I hope that helped a little bit. All right.
Yes,
Yeah.
it
Well,
did.
you've started from a very great point. I have to tell you that. So just kind of
Thank you, ma'am.
pointing a little bit. So with that, I believe we have come to the end of this webinar. I want to thank everyone for taking the time on a Saturday morning, afternoon, and evening and hearing
Hello,
me.
ma'am.
And
Good evening.
yes,
This is
good
Bernadette.
evening.
Sorry, I don't have the hand raising icon on my um Zoom.
Okay, I was about to
Yeah,
close the session,
sorry.
but you took it
I was
from me.
trying
So
to
go
raise my
ahead.
hand, but I couldn't find where.
All right,
Okay,
go
thank you
ahead.
so much. Okay, I work in a bank. I'm a manager, and I've been having this system, or would I call it an issue, managing a particular staff. So she's always sick, taking excuses.
Oh, Bernadette, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think your connection is not very stable. Yeah,
Mm.
go ahead now.
Okay, so like I said earlier, I tried to introduce myself. I work in a bank. I'm a manager. I have staff supervising, but I have a problem with one of them. She's always sick. You know, Mondays she won't be at work. Thursdays, Fridays she's having excuses, bringing family issues to work, and it's not been a good ride for me. So
So, Bernadette, there's a connectivity issue and I need to wrap up. Please take my email or my access contact, and you can feel free
okay,
to
that's
send
fine.
me the question because we're going to close now. I want to hear this question, so feel free to send it to me, please, and I would respond
All
to
right,
you
I'll do that.
one-on-one. Yes,
Okay,
please. So
that's
again,
fine.
I want to take the
Thank
opportunity
you
to
so
thank
much.
everyone. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know that we have another webinar coming, and my partners will let everybody know when that will be. Feel free to follow me. And for those of you that have organizations and you need intervention, you can visit accessinsight.com or thetplat.com. And then let's make it customized to your organization and to your person. Again, there's so many people that want to do good things. There's so many leaders that are struggling. My job and my intention is to help you ease those struggles, but as factual, as authentic as possible. So once again, thank you so much, and you will stay blessed. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
very
so
much.
much.
Bye
Have a good
bye.
day.